Welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin, and today I'll be discussing Appointment with Danger from 1950. And this is the film that I watched at the 2023 Arthur Lyons Film Noir Festival on May 13th at the Palm Springs Community Center. Some essential movie details from the film's IMDb page. Jack Webb and Harry Morgan, who play thugs in this movie, they became friends on set and would later star together in Dragnet 1967 as detectives. Alright, so now I'll get into my thoughts on the plot. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. You know, the idea of there being a post office investigator who's trying to solve a murder was really interesting and intriguing to me, and almost borderline hilarious. Because it's ridiculous. The whole concept and idea of it is ridiculous. Alan Ladd, however, he's hardly in the film, and he's hardly really a post office investigator. You know, he really just feels like a normal investigator. Honestly, this film could have easily been a detective story with them being in a police station and all that. Honestly, the whole post office thing was not necessary at all. It really did nothing for the storyline, did nothing for it at all. I almost forgot about it, honestly, because he's not wearing a uniform. He's not doing anything like that. So, yeah. And then there's also a nun who's in this film. She's a great character, but she's barely in it. Honestly, you forget she's even there. You forget her whole purpose for even being there. And she really didn't add anything to the plot. She didn't really need to be there. Then the bad guys, they were fine. And the idea of robbing the van was fine and interesting. But all around, it's an okay movie. It's not a great film. But you have to kind of take it as a grain of salt. This is definitely a B movie. So keep that in mind as you try and watch this movie, that it is not your average movie. All right, in regards to the acting, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I thought it was just okay. I think Alan Ladd probably does the best of the acting, and then maybe some of the other detectives. Jack Webb and Harry Morgan, they were honestly a bit over the top for me. Now, we only see the Harry Morgan character for one scene, but in that one scene, he dies in like the most bizarre way possible, like by a baby shoe. Like, what? It is so weird. They hit him on the head with it and he dies, and it's just so bizarre. It's so weird. It's so over the top. And they were just super hamming it up. It was just very strange, very weird. But it was also entertaining. That's why I gave it a 3 out of 5. Not because of how entertaining it was. All right. In regards to the directing, yeah, I gave that a 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was okay. You know, again, I don't get why it needs to be post office related. It really could have been just a police station with police detectives. And some of the other choices that were made were really bizarre, like how George died. There's a nun in it. It was a really, really weird concept, really strange film. I got to give credit where credit's due. You know, it's very intriguing, very different from other movies you may have seen. But I don't know, it was a little too hokey, a little too far-fetched. And Lewis Allen, who directed this film, I think he did an okay job. It was doing the work, I guess, you know. It was definitely a B movie, though. All right, in regards to cinematography and special effects, I gave that a 4 out of 5. You know, despite the limitations of the film, it actually looked really, really good. There wasn't anything jarring or weird other than the shoe, of course, but like cinematography-wise, it looked fine. It was great. The idea that the film was set in Gary, Indiana was just kind of funny to me because that's not where the whole movie takes place, but that is a pretty big and significant city in the film. I just thought that was funny because usually it's like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, you know, a major city. So Gary, Indiana, that also was a little strange too. It was like, this is weird. A post office investigator investigating a murder, a nun who witnessed it. It's all taking place in Gary, Indiana. It's like, this sounds like a comedy bit. I'm not going to lie. It's really, really bizarre and weird choices. But that kind of adds to the charm of it. And so that's why I gave the cinematography a 4 out of 5. It actually looked really decent. All right, in regards to the music, 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was fine. It was average. Nothing major. Really forgettable. Not a score you could pick out or anything like that. It was fine. No real complaints in it. There were some scenes that were kind of interesting where they used record players and whatnot to, for the story. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, it was average. Nothing spectacular. So tallying that all up, that brings my Letterboxd score to a 3.5 out of 5. So the question is, would I recommend this movie? I think for a specific type of audience. If you like B movies and kind of weird plots and weird ideas, and you see this at, like I did, at a film festival with a bunch of other audience members who like kind of weird movies like this, then I would say go for it. But if you're trying to watch an old movie kind of for the first time or something like that, trying to get to know what Hollywood in the olden days is like, this is probably not the film for that. This is for a specific niche audience who loves weird old movies that have strange premises. Again, it's a B movie, if you're into that. I think you'll like it, but for the most part, I don't think the average moviegoer will enjoy this or really get it or get the intrigue of it. So I would say if you're into that kind of thing, yes, but if not, not really. It's not a general audience movie for sure. All right, so those are my thoughts on the film Appointment with Danger from 1950. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Really Old Movies, where I discuss details on the week's particular film. New podcast episodes are released Saturdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. All right, thank you so much. This has been Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin. Take care.